Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. I will be your host. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you to be an equipped disciple. All right, welcome into another day of your daily devos. I'm Pastor Rick, and we are jumping right on in. Genesis chapter 49. Israel speaking the blessings over the 12 tribes, basically Israel's final words. And so we're going to jump right in and see what there is to see today. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather round, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the days to come. Come together and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel. Reuben, you are my firstborn." Also just kind of remembering that the last couple chapters have been clear in telling us that Israel's eyesight in the physical is like pretty much gone. Like his grandson showed up and he was like, "Who dis?" Who dis? And so physically his eyesight is failing, but it looks like spiritually his eyesight has never been sharper. And so just it got me actually asking myself the question, like, how is my spiritual eyesight doing? How am I able to see things spiritually versus just in the natural, and really how our faith journey can be so dependent upon like what we fix our eyes on and what we allow ourselves to be able to see, because we can get so distracted by the things that we see in the natural that we don't function according to the truth in the spiritual realm. And so just a little bit of kind of a food for thought type of thing to think about in regards to this eyesight as he gathers them all around. He says, I'm about ready to tell you what is going to happen to you. And this is not done in a natural basis, but it is done spiritually, speaking out over his kids. And and a shout out to my friend Bruce, gave me this hat. So I always like to give credit to the people, for the hat. 2 days ago, I wore a Bucky's hat that came from John and Emma out there. Shout out to John and Emma. So thank you, Bruce, for the sweet hat. And as always, if you want me to wear a hat in the video, send me a hat. If you want information, put it in the comments. I'll help you. So I like hats, all right? So, okay. So Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, my first fruits of my virility, excelling in prominence and excelling in power. Turbulent as water, you will not excel, because you got into your father's bed and you defiled it. He got into my bed. We all know the story there where he went and got his father's concubine and slept with her. Bad news there. And it's really going to rob him of a lot of inheritance. And so the actions that we do have consequences, and we need to just be mindful of that, because what are you compromising in the long run because of a temporary, potentially fun, quote unquote fun or pleasurable experience? What are you sacrificing? Keep your mindset, keep your eyes set on the end target, so that we don't make decisions that end up costing us the things that really, really matter. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their knives are vicious weapons. May I never enter their council. May I never join their assembly. For in their anger they kill men, and on a whim they hamstring oxen. Their anger is cursed, for it is strong, and their fury, for it is cruel. I will disperse them throughout Jacob and scatter them throughout Israel. Simeon and Levi, their little situation is from the whole story of Dinah. We talked about that, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so, where Dinah was basically sexually assaulted by Shechem, and they went and made a deal, like a fake deal, and then ended up going in and killing all the men out of their anger and rage. And, it's like their anger was justified in that something very, very significant had happened, but it doesn't mean that the way that they responded to their anger was the right or righteous way to handle that situation. Though I don't think any of us, necessarily stand back in humongous judgment, right? Because if it was your sister or if it was your daughter or whatever, like No, like I totally get why they did what they did, but yet Jacob is telling him like, look, I'm not ever going to stand in your counsel. Your anger is cursed because it's so strong, and your fury for it is cruel. I mean, they didn't just kill the men, but then they went and hamstrung all the horses, like basically making the horses just useless. And what the horses do, like what the horses do to you. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the necks of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. Judah is a young lion, my son. You return from the kill. He crouches, he lies down like a lion or a lioness. Who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet, until he whose right it is, comes, and the obedience of the people belongs to him. Okay, so Judah is the tribe where Jesus comes from, and so there's a little bit of messianic prophecy kind of going on here. The scepter will not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet. It's always been understood to be referring to Jesus. And until he whose right it is comes, and the obedience of the peoples belongs to him. And so all of those things would be understood to be referring to Jesus. He ties his donkey to a vine, and a colt of his donkey to the choice vine. He washes his clothes in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine. His teeth are whiter than milk. All right, verse 13. Zebulun will live by the seashore and will be a harbor for ships, and his territory will be next to Sidon. And so Sidon actually had a really prosperous seaport there. And so technically the first territory of land that Zebulun was given was landlocked. But then later in Ezekiel, there's a mention of his territory. And so a lot of people think that it ties into being next to Sidon and just the prospering of that seaport. Verse 14, Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between the saddlebags. He saw that his resting place was good and that the land was pleasant. So he leaned his shoulder to bear a load and became a forced laborer. Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a snake by the road, a viper beside the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider falls backwards. I wait for your salvation, Lord. Gad will be attacked by raiders, but he will attack their heels. Asher's food will be rich, and he will produce royal delicacies. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is a fruitful vine beside a spring. Its branches climb over the wall. The archers attacked him, shot at him, and were hostile toward him. Yet his bow remained steady, and his strong arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob, by the name of the shepherd, the rock of Israel, by the God of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you with blessings of the heavens above, blessings of the deep that lies below, and blessings of the breast in the womb. So there's just blessing upon blessing proclaimed over Joseph and his line. The blessings of your father excel the blessings of my ancestors, and the bounty of the ancient hills. May they rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince of his brothers. So he just, heaped on the blessings on Joseph. So Simeon and Levi and Reuben all kind of disqualify themselves from any real inheritance happening here because of the sexual issues, the anger problems, just all of those things. And then he just takes a bunch of that and just heaps it onto Joseph. I mean, really, Joseph is the reason that any of them are still alive. So there can't be too much complaining in the process. But the blessings of your father excel the blessings of my ancestors, and the bounty of the ancient hills. May they rest on the head of Joseph and on the brow of the prince of his brothers. Benjamin is a wolf. He tears his prey. In the morning he devours the prey, and in the evening he divides the plunder. These are the tribes of Israel, 12 in all. And this is what their father said to them. He blessed them, and he blessed each one with a suitable blessing. Then he commanded them, I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my ancestors in the cave of the field of Ephron the Hethite, the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, in the land of Canaan. This is the field Abraham purchased from Ephron the Hethite as a burial property. Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried there, and I buried Leah there. The field and the cave in it were purchased from the Hethites. When Jacob had finished giving charges to his sons, he drew his feet into the bed and took his last breath and was gathered to his people. So Israel's final words, speaking the blessings, the prophetic declarations over all of his kids, and not like over the kids specifically, but over their families and their tribes as it was going to be. So he's really like just setting the tone. And it's kind of this double message of trusting in the faithfulness of God, but also recognizing the responsibility that you have in your own personal behavior, like how you hold yourself, how you operate. So he's, it's a pretty strong message that he's given them. And then Judah gets the second longest blessing of any of the tribes next to Joseph. Joseph gets the most, and then Judah gets the second most. And of course, Judah being one of the descendants of Leah, so but also the line that Jesus comes through. So there's the messianic line right there. Joseph, obviously the first and favored son of Rachel, and then as Israel's going, he says, "Hey, I want to be buried in the cave of Machpelah." In Machpelah of Mamre. And so he is saying, as he is departing, he's like, hey, take me back to where God wants us to go. So even in his death, he's speaking this declaration and then object lesson where I want you to put me. I want you to put me where God is taking us. So he's using even his final request, his final declaration of his life to declare his trust and confidence in that God is going to fulfill his promises. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things here is that, yes, he's declaring blessings over the tribes, but he's also pointing them to God to say, hey, Yahweh, he's my God, and I want you to keep focused on his promises and know that he is going to come through. And I think that's the word for you today. Trust God today. Believe in him today. He is going to deliver on his promises over your life, no matter what the circumstances may look like around you. Go look up Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17 through 19. Roughly, it just talks about though there's no fruit on the vine, though there's no olives, no budding, no food in the no herds, no cattle, no sheep, no nothing, none in the stalls, none in the field, no food happening, yet I will trust in you. So no matter what is going on around you, look to the promises of God and know that he does not lie. And he is a keeper of his promises. So with that, God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.